The Awakening. Commander Elena Rice stifled a yawn as she completed her final circuit around the silent monitoring station. For 12 years, she had served as the senior officer at Pluto's Edge, humanity's most distant early warning system. The station hung in the cold void at the boundary of Earth's solar system, a forgotten sentinel from an age when humanity still looked to the stars with curiosity rather than fear. 40 years had passed since the blackout. Nobody knew exactly what happened to the Artemis colony on Proxima Centauri, Earth's first and last attempt at extrasolar colonization. The mission had gone dark suddenly, completely, and the cryptic final transmission contained only 6 words. "They're here. Don't follow. Stay hidden." Earth's governments had panicked. The isolation accord was signed within weeks. Interstellar exploration was banned. The great shipyards that had once promised humanity's expansion to the stars were repurposed to build defensive platforms around Earth. Humanity retreated into its cradle, eyes fixed warily on the darkness beyond. Another uneventful shift, Lieutenant Marcus Chen said it as he handed Elena a steaming cup of synthetic coffee. "Uneventful is good," Elena replied automatically. It was the mantra of monitoring station personnel. The day something happened would be the day everything changed. Elena took a sip from her cup and glanced at the primary sensor display. Her cup froze halfway to her mouth. "Marcus," she said quietly, "look at this." A small anomaly flickered on the quantum wave detector, an impossibility. The detector was designed to identify the unique ripple pattern of a ship dropping out of FTL travel. But no human ships used FTL anymore, and in 40 years, they had never detected an alien signature. "Could be a malfunction," Marcus suggested, but his voice lacked conviction. Elena's fingers flew across the console, running diagnostics. All systems nominal. "This is real." The signal strengthened, became more defined. Whatever had entered real space was approximately 2 light days beyond Pluto's edge, close enough to be a concern, far enough that they had time to respond. "Alert status," Elena ordered, and klaxons began to sound throughout the station. "Get me a direct line to Earth Defense Command." Marcus hesitated. "Protocol says we should observe 4. "To hell with protocol," Elena snapped. "Something just dropped out of FTL on our doorstep." The communications officer patched through a secure quantum link to Earth. General Hideo Takahashi's weathered face appeared on the screen, lined with the burden of commanding Earth's defensive forces for 15 years. "Commander Reyes," he acknowledged. "Your transmission is flight urgent." "Sir, we've detected an FTL ripple signature at the edge of our sensor range. Something just arrived." The general's expression didn't change, but Elena noticed his shoulders stiffen slightly. "Classification: unknown, sir, but it's generating some kind of broadcast. Can you intercept?" Elena glanced at Marcus, who nodded. "Attempting to now, sir." The station's powerful receivers focused on the distant object, filtering through layers of cosmic background radiation and signal degradation. Gradually, a pattern emerged, not random noise, but a structured transmission. The AI translation system began processing the signal, searching for any recognizable patterns. The bridge fell silent as the first translated fragments emerged through the station's speakers. "Any vessels? Emergency. Attacked. Survivors, please respond." Elena felt the hairs on her neck rise. The message repeated, growing clearer with each pass through the translation algorithm. "This is the Artemis colony evacuation vessel Perseverance. We are carrying the last survivors. We have been attacked. Our systems are failing. Any Earth vessels, please respond. We are coming home." The bridge erupted in chaotic movement. Elena stood frozen, the implications crashing over her. After 40 years, survivors from the lost colony were returning, and they were being pursued. "Commander," General Takahashi's voice cut through her shock. "Verify that transmission. Use the old colonial authentication protocols." Elena nodded to the communications officer, who sent the challenge codes established 4 decades earlier. Minutes passed as the signal traveled across the vast distance. The response came back, matching the authentication sequence perfectly. "It's them," Elena confirmed. "It's really them." General Takahashi was silent for a long moment. "Commander Reyes, I am hereby activating Defense Directive Lazarus. Transmit your full sensor data to Earth Command and prepare your station for priority military operations." Elena exchanged a startled look with Marcus. Defense Directive Lazarus was a theoretical emergency protocol, something discussed in briefings, but never expected to be implemented. "Sir," she hesitated, "Lazarus requires full reactivation of the mothball fleet. Those ships haven't been crewed in decades." "I'm aware of the requirements, Commander," Takahashi replied. "And now I'm giving you new orders. Maintain your station at maximum alert. The Perseverance and whatever is chasing it are now your only priority. Earth Command out." The communication ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "What just happened?" Marcus whispered. Elena stared at the blinking signal on her screen. "I think we just woke up." On Earth, deep beneath the Olympus Mons colony on Mars, General Takahashi stood before the Emergency Defense Council. Representatives from the 12 Earth nations and the 3 colonial bodies of Luna, Mars, and the Jovian moons watched him with grim faces. "The transmission is authentic," Takahashi concluded. "After 40 years, survivors from Artemis Colony are returning to our solar system, and they're being pursued by the very threat that caused us to enact the Isolation Accord." "How many survivors?" asked the representative from the African Union. "Unknown. The message indicates a single evacuation vessel." "And their pursuers?" The Martian delegate leaned forward. "What are we facing?" Takahashi gestured to his aide, who projected a holographic display. "Based on the transit vectors and energy signatures detected by Pluto's edge, we believe at least 3 vessels are following the Perseverance. Their energy output suggests significantly advanced technology." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "What options do we have?" asked President Chen of the United Earth Alliance. Takahashi squared his shoulders. "I've already initiated Defense Directive Lazarus." Murmurs erupted around the table. The lunar representative stood. "That's impossible. The Phantom Fleet has been in storage for decades. We don't have the personnel, the training." "With respect," Takahashi interrupted, "that's not entirely accurate." He nodded to his aide again. The holographic display shifted to show a massive underground facility. "For 40 years, we've maintained the public position that our defensive strategy focused solely on orbital platforms and planetary shields. That was never the complete truth." The display zoomed in, revealing rows upon rows of sleek warships. Project Phantom didn't end with the Isolation Accord. It evolved. While we mothballed our exploratory fleet, we secretly continued developing defensive capabilities. The ships you're looking at represent the culmination of 40 years of hidden innovation. Vessels designed with one purpose: to defend humanity if the threat ever found us. President Chen's eyes narrowed. "You've been building a secret fleet." "Not building, Madam President. Testing. Perfecting. These ships incorporate every technological advancement we've made since the blackout. They're crewed by a small cadre of officers who've trained in absolute secrecy. They're ready." "How many?" asked the Jovian representative. 57 combat-ready vessels. Enough to form a defensive line while we evacuate the Perseverance." The council members exchanged looks of shock and, in some cases, outrage. President Chen finally broke the silence. "You've exceeded your authority, General." "Yes, Madam President," Takahashi acknowledged without apology. "But when the Perseverance arrives, whatever is chasing it will discover Earth. The question is not whether we fight, but how prepared we are when the fight comes." The room fell silent again. "The Phantom Fleet launches in 18 hours, Takahashi continued. "I'm not asking for permission to deploy. That decision was made 40 years ago, when we created the contingency. I'm informing this council so you can prepare your populations. The isolation age is over." Captain Diana Vega had never seen Earth from space. Like most of the officers and crew of the Phantom Fleet, she had been born and raised in the secret military installations of Mars and Titan, recruited as a teenager into a program whose existence was denied by every official channel. Now she stood on the bridge of the CNV Defiance, the most advanced warship humanity had ever built, watching as Earth grew smaller behind them. The Defiance led a formation of 12 vessels, Task Force Sentinel, the vanguard of humanity's secret defenders. All ships report ready, Captain, her XO, Commander Jackson Hayes, announced. Diana nodded. Fleet status. The remaining task forces are in formation and awaiting your order. Diana studied the tactical display. 45 additional ships had taken position in a defensive sphere around the primary task force. Together, they represented humanity's best-kept secret and its last line of defense. Captain, the communications officer called out. Incoming transmission from Fleet Command. General Takahashi's face appeared on the main screen. Captain Vega, sensor data from Pluto's edge confirms the Perseverance has crossed into our solar system. Their pursuers are approximately 12 hours behind. Your orders are clear. Intercept the Perseverance, secure our people, and assess the threat. If possible, establish communication with the pursuing vessels. If necessary. He paused, the weight of 40 years of preparation evident in his eyes. If necessary, demonstrate why humanity chose isolation rather than surrender. Diana straightened. Understood, sir. We won't fail. Godspeed, Captain. Earth is watching. The transmission ended. Diana turned to her crew, all of them trained from youth for this moment, all of them carrying the hidden hope of humanity. Navigation. Plot intercept course with the Perseverance. Tactical. Bring all systems to combat readiness. Communications. Prepare first contact protocols. She paused, looking at the determined faces around her. For 40 years, we've prepared for this day. Humanity retreated from the stars not out of fear, but to prepare. Today, we show the galaxy what that preparation means. Commander Hayes approached her as the bridge crew turned to their duties. Do you think they're ready? He asked quietly. Diana watched as the Defiance's massive engines powered up, the ship's quantum field generators creating a bubble of distorted spacetime that would propel them faster than light. They better be, she replied. Because ready or not, first contact begins today. Jump drives engaged, the navigation officer announced. All ships report ready for FTL. Diana settled into the captain's chair, her expression resolute. Take us out. The stars blurred as 57 warships, humanity's secret guardians, leaped into the void, racing to meet their destiny. First contact. The Perseverance limped through space, its hull scarred by weapons fire and decades of makeshift repairs. Inside, the descendants of the original Artemis colonists huddled in cramped quarters designed for a journey of weeks, not the 40 years of nomadic flight they had endured. Dr. Maya Santos, the ship's chief medical officer and one of the few remaining original colonists, studied the navigational display with weary eyes. At 73, she was among the oldest survivors, one of the few who remembered Earth as more than stories told to children born in exile. Are we sure about these coordinates? She asked Captain Eli Okafor, the 35-year-old commander born aboard the Perseverance during their endless flight. As sure as we can be, Eli replied. The old star charts have been accurate so far. We're definitely in Earth's solar system. Maya closed her eyes briefly, allowing herself a moment of hope. After all this time, a proximity alarm shattered the moment. Lieutenant Zara Wright, their tactical officer, checked her console with alarm. Multiple objects approaching at FTL speeds, she reported. Configuration unknown. Eli straightened. The swarm. I don't think so, Zara replied, frowning at her readings. The energy signature is different. More structured. Yellow alert, Eli ordered. Charge what weapons we have left. Maya, get everyone to the shelter areas. Maya hesitated. If it's Earth, we can't take that chance. Eli cut her off. Not after Proxima Station. Not after everything. The survivors had learned the hard price of trust. Of the original 5,000 colonists, barely 600 remained, and those who survived did so because they had learned caution above all else. The approaching vessels dropped out of FTL, their massive forms materializing against the backdrop of distant stars. The bridge crew of the Perseverance stared in stunned silence at the tactical display. "Those are human ships," Zara whispered, "but nothing like what we left behind." The sleek, predatory lines of the Phantom Fleet vessels bore little resemblance to the utilitarian colony ships of 40 years ago. These were warships designed for combat, and they dwarfed the battered Perseverance. "Incoming transmission," announced the communications officer. Eli exchanged glances with Maya before nodding. "Put it through." The view screen activated, showing the bridge of the lead vessel. A woman in a crisp uniform with captain's insignia regarded them with assessing eyes. "This is Captain Diana Vega of the Earth vessel Defiance. Perseverance, we've received your distress call. Welcome home." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes at the simple words, "Welcome home." Eli wasn't so easily moved. "Captain Vega, we're being pursued by a hostile force we call the Swarm. They destroyed our colony. They've hunted us across 17 star systems. They'll be here within hours." Diana nodded. "We know. That's why we're here. Prepare for emergency docking. We'll transfer your people to our ships." "All 600 of us?" Eli asked skeptically. "The Defiance can accommodate twice that number," Diana replied. "But we need to move quickly. Your pursuers have accelerated." 3 hours later, Diana stood with Maya and Eli in the Defiance's Strategic Command Center, reviewing the information the colonists had brought with them. The holographic display showed recordings of the Swarm's attacks, insectoid ships moving with hive-like coordination, overwhelming the colonists' defenses through sheer numbers and relentless persistence. "They never communicate," Maya explained. "Never negotiate. They simply appeared one day and began systematically destroying our outposts. We tried everything: peace offerings, displays of technology, even self-destruct threats. Nothing deterred them." "How did you survive this long?" Commander Hayes asked. "We ran," Eli said simply. "For 40 years, we stayed one jump ahead. Every time we thought we found safety, they tracked us down. We lost ships, people, hope, but we kept moving." Diana studied the tactical data. "Their individual vessels don't appear particularly advanced. It's their coordination and numbers that make them formidable." "Exactly," Eli confirmed. "They function perfectly as a collective. We've never been able to disrupt their command structure, if they even have one." Diana turned to her tactical officer. "How long until they arrive?" 2 hours, Captain. Long-range sensors show 7 large carrier vessels and approximately 300 smaller attack craft." Diana nodded. Decision made. "Commander Hayes, deploy the fleet in Aegis formation. I want our shield network overlapping and all quantum disruptors primed." "Captain," Eli interjected, "with respect, you should retreat. Take our people to Earth. The Swarm will follow us. They always do, but it will buy you time to prepare better defenses." Diana smiled, the expression oddly predatory. "Captain Okafor, Earth has had 40 years to prepare. Your final message warned us to stay hidden, and we took that warning seriously. But we didn't just hide. We built." She gestured to the tactical display showing the Phantom Fleet spreading into a complex 3-dimensional formation. "This is what humanity has been doing while you kept the Swarm occupied. These ships represent technologies your colony never had the chance to develop. Quantum disruption fields, gravimetric distortion weapons, neural-linked targeting systems." Maya stared at the display in amazement. "You've been expecting this." "Not expecting," Diana corrected. "Preparing for. There's a difference. The swarm arrived precisely as predicted, their carrier ships disgorging hundreds of smaller attack vessels that moved with eerie synchronization. From the Defiance's bridge, Diana watched the approaching armada with calm focus. "They're not slowing down," Hayes noted. "No attempt at communication." "Just as the colonists described," Diana replied. "All ships maintain Aegis formation. Deploy quantum buoys." Throughout the fleet, small devices launched from the human vessels, forming an invisible web of quantum entangled points in space. The swarm paid them no attention, focused entirely on their advance. "They're targeting the Perseverance," the tactical officer reported. "They're ignoring our ships." "Of course they are," Diana said. "It's the only target they recognize." "Activate disruption field on my mark." The swarm attack craft accelerated, their formation tightening as they approached the seemingly vulnerable human fleet. Now, the quantum buoys activated simultaneously, creating a rippling distortion in spacetime. The effect on the swarm was immediate and dramatic. Their perfect formation shattered as each vessel suddenly responded to slightly different physical laws. Ships collided. Trajectories became erratic, their hive-like coordination disrupted. "Phase 2, Diana ordered. "Target their carrier vessels." The human fleet's main weapons powered up, gravimetric lances that didn't so much damage their targets as fundamentally altered the space they occupied. Where the energy beams struck, matter compressed, expanded, or simply ceased to follow normal physical laws. 3 swarm carriers imploded instantly, their mass crushed to a fraction of its original volume. "They're adapting," Hayes warned as the remaining swarm vessels began to adjust their approach. "As expected," Diana replied calmly. "Initiate Prometheus Protocol." Throughout the human fleet, specialized vessels moved into position, activating unique energy fields that intersected with precise mathematical precision. Where the fields met, space itself seemed to fold, creating artificial gravity wells that trapped clusters of swarm ships. The colonists reported the swarm adapts quickly to conventional weapons. Diana explained to Maya and Eli, who watched in astonishment. "So we developed unconventional ones." The human fleet pressed its advantage, methodically isolating and neutralizing groups of swarm vessels. The remaining carriers attempted to retreat, but found their FTL capabilities blocked by the quantum disruption field. "They're trying to send a signal," the communications officer reported. "Long range, directed away from our solar system." "Jam it," Diana ordered instantly. "No messages get out." The battle continued for another hour, but the outcome was never in doubt. What had seemed an overwhelming alien force had been systematically dismantled by human ingenuity and 40 years of focused military development. When the last swarm vessel had been neutralized, a stunned silence fell over the Defiance's bridge. "We've captured 3 of their attack craft intact," Hayes reported eventually. "Research teams are standing by." Diana nodded, then turned to Maya and Eli. "Now we'll learn who they are and why they attacked your colony." "Just like that?" Eli asked, disbelief evident in his voice. 40 years of running, and you defeat them in a single battle." "Not just like that," Diana replied. "This victory was built on your sacrifice. Every day you kept running, every piece of information you gathered about their tactics, it all contributed to this moment." She gestured to the view screen, now showing Earth's fleet surrounding the captured alien vessels. "Humanity didn't abandon you, Captain Okafor. Your warning gave us the time we needed to become something the swarm never expected." "And what's that?" Maya asked quietly. Diana's expression hardened with fierce pride. "A predator more dangerous than they could imagine." 3 days later, General Takahashi stood before the United Governments of Humanity. The leaders of every nation and colony assembled to hear his report. "The technology recovered from the swarm vessels confirms our theories," he explained. "They are a biological mechanical collective, directed by a central intelligence that remains beyond our solar system. The attack on Artemis colony wasn't random, it was deliberate. Their purpose was to assess our capabilities and eliminate a potential rival before we expanded further. Are we still in danger? President Chen asked. Always, Takahashi replied honestly. But we now possess their communication protocols, their navigational data, and samples of their technology. More importantly, we've demonstrated that humanity is not the easy prey they anticipated. He gestured to Captain Vega, who stood at attention beside him. The Phantom Fleet will be expanded. We'll establish outposts at strategic locations to monitor for future incursions. The survivors of Artemis Colony have already volunteered to help lead these efforts, sharing their knowledge of extrasolar conditions. And the Isolation Accord? Asked the Martian representative. Takahashi smiled slightly. I believe events have rendered it obsolete. Humanity has outgrown its cradle. We've proven we can defend ourselves. Now it's time to return to the stars, not in fear, but in strength. On the Defiance, now orbiting Earth, Maya Santos stood at a viewport, watching the planet she had last seen 40 years ago. Captain Vega joined her in silent contemplation. Was it worth it? Diana asked eventually. All those years of running, just to lead them back to Earth. Maya considered the question. We never intended to come back. We thought we were protecting Earth by staying away. But in the end, you gave us the warning we needed, Diana finished. And maybe something more valuable. What's that? Diana gestured to a passing ship where colonist children pressed their faces against windows, seeing Earth for the first time. You kept hope alive. Not just for yourselves, but for all of us. You reminded us what humanity does best. Run away, Maya asked with a wry smile. Survive, Diana corrected. Adapt. And when necessary, fight back against impossible odds. The swarm thought they were hunting prey. They never realized they were helping forge a weapon. Beyond the viewport, Earth turned serenely, protected by its fleet of guardians, ships built in secret during decades of apparent retreat. The galaxy beyond remained vast and largely unknown, filled with potential friends and enemies. But humanity would face it on their own terms, no longer hiding. The age of isolation was over. The age of humanity had begun.